Is high drama feeling festive?
I was out of town recently for the National Black Theater Festival held between July 31st and August 3rd in Winston-Salem, North Carolina for the American Theater Critics Association Conference. Larry Leon Hamlin started this festival 30 years ago. Sadly, he died just before, but his widow, Sylvia Sprinkle Hamlin, has kept his spirit alive with producing a marv-tastic event, a coinage he came up with. There were a lot of activities covered in 4 days. You could see 2 shows a day, concerts, special events, international vendors market filled with beautiful clothes, unique items, live entertainment, demonstrations. I saw 8 shows that ranged from solo shows about real people to musicals celebrating soul music and the Children's Crusade. Soul Man from the West Coast Black Theater Troupe from Sarasota, Florida, Nate Jacobs put together a crowd-pleasing show utilizing the hits of the 60s Motown to school a dismissive rapper in the virtues of old-school music. They sing Jackie Wilson, Sam Cooke, James Brown, Otis Redding, Wilson Pickett, Smokey Robinson, and many more. They even sang my favorite, Sam Cooke's Another Saturday Night. This is a high-energy, irresistible show that gets your feet tapping, your heart racing. You can get your cardio in without leaving your seat, except you do stand at the end. Next, I saw Sammy, Celebrate the Legacy, which was created and performed by David Hayes, and he treated us to a Sammy Davis concert as he swaggers on stage singing This Is My Moment, Once in a Lifetime, With a Song in My Heart, What Kind of Fool Am I? All these songs. He does impressions like Sammy, and then he turns into himself and sings songs like Amazing Grace, Sugar Pie Honey, and all that. Then I saw The Movement, an acapella musical from Leap Arts Live in collaboration with Diversity Youth Theater. Kathy D. Harrison's was inspired by the Children's Crusade of 1963 when thousands of children marched to City Hall in Binghamton to demand the end of segregation. We learn about James Bevel and Dorothy Cotton. The extremely talented cast sang a cappella beautifully with exceptional choreography and impressive rhythmic clapping. Then came How I Learned What I Learned, which chronicles August Wilson's early years with Wally Jamal regaling us with tidbits from Mr. Wilson's struggles and achievement. Next came Anne and Emmett. Janet Langard Cohen's very cleverly had Anne Frank and Emmett Till in limbo land called Memory, where these teenagers discovered similarities and differences in their tragic situation. This was my favorite play of the festival. My other favorite was Gabrielle Lee as Bricktop, Legend of the Jazz Age by Kathy Sawyer. Bricktop was a huge hit in Paris, but in America she had to deal with the prejudices of the days in the 20s. On a more serious note, coming from South Africa was Sindiwa Magnona's Mother to Mother, performed by Thembi Michali Jones. After constantly being bullied by the whites in power in South Africa, the black teens exploded when a white woman innocently ended up in their territory. The horrified mother of one of the teens feels for the mother of the slain women. This is sort of like Emmett, who he was black and ended up in a white neighborhood and was treated hideously. The last show I saw was Jelly's Last Jam about Jelly Roll Morton with DeWitt Fleming Jr. tapping up a storm. And also as part of the ACA conference, we got, oh, we're done. So, sorry about that. So I saw Living History of the North Carolina Black Repertory Company, the National Black Theater Festival. Lynn Felder talked with Sylvia Sprinkle Hamlin, Jackie Alexander, and Lawrence Evans. And we had a reception at Best Western Plus, hosted by the West Coast Black Theater Troupe that put on Soul Man. And Kalunda Smith, who's from ACA, led a workshop presented by the festival on Everyone's a Critic. And there was a panel on the history and current state of black theater in the United States from Nate Jacobs, founder and artistic director of the West Coast Black Theater Troupe, Jackie Taylor, founder of the Black Ensemble Theater in Chicago, and Eileen J. Morris, director of Ensemble Theater Company in Houston, moderated by Jane Handelman. We had dinner at the Canteen Market and Bistro, and Best Western Plus put us up for the panels. They fed us very nicely, and they had buses going to all the venues of Marriott Winston-Salem, so it was really easy to get around. This comes around once every 2 years, and it really is just an incredible event. I am so glad I got to go see this. So for the entire festival, even though some of the plays were better than others, it doesn't matter, the whole thing, because I had such a good time. Happy face.
From festival, we go to a feast. Food of Love Productions did Midsummer, a Banquet, which was Shakespeare's Midsummer Night's Dream, adapted by Zach Morris and Victoria Ray Suk, directed and choreographed by Zach Morris, with visual experience Zach Morris, food design Emily Baltz. And it pairs the play with the multi-course meal. The versatile cast of 8 plays various roles to tell the tale of mismatched human and fairy lovers in the woods outside Athens. Hermia flees to the woods with her lover Lysander when her father Aegeus threatens to kill her if she doesn't marry his choice, Demetrius. Meanwhile, her friend Helena is in love with Demetrius and trying to get him to woo her, and they end up in the woods. Also, there are denizens, the fairy king Oberon and his queen Titania, who are fighting over a little Indian boy, and Oberon's minion Puck, who's fast and mischievous, manages to wreak havoc with everyone.
And then there are, of course, the Rude Mechanicals, which are my favorite. You've got Bottom the Weaver, and they're going to put on the play Pyramus and Thisbe, and Bottom wants to play all the parts. And to get back at Titania, Oberon gets Puck to make mischief with her too, with this flower that changes who you love. And he makes her fall in love with Bottom, who's now been turned into an ass. And it is just hysterical and fun. And this is the yummy food we got to eat in between courses. And it's always such a delightful occasion to go to these Food for Loves.
Yeah.
They did the same thing with Love's Labor, Love, Shake and Bake. So you have the characters presenting you with food, presenting you with wine and champagne to toast the happy couple. And they play different various parts, so you can see how versatile they are. You've got, and the Hermia scene, I love it because I was worried because Hermia and Helena were the same size, and my favorite scene is the short scene, how short she is. But they had platforms, so they
She was much taller.
Yes.
Normally, if they were both standing on the ground, they would be the same height. Also, I've never seen so much done with the wall in Pyramus and Thisbe.
Gosh.
That was the funniest thing.
Oh, wait till you see how they handle it. It is just brilliant. That's just it. There were all these brilliant directorial choices in this that just, it was like and God knows we've all seen Midsummer like a gazillion times.
But it felt fresh.
Exactly. It's fresh as the delightful food they gave us.
Yeah, and also they really thought about where to put in the food, what food to serve. So the whole thing was really totally enchanting. And it worked well together.
Yeah, because they never stopped to give you the food. It was all part of the action going on.
Yeah, the actors were the waiters, basically.
And the fight scenes were brilliant. And we just, oh my gosh, the two of us absolutely loved.
Yeah, you've got to see that.
Yes, we're both raving. Stephen McCasland and I went to see Ain't Too Proud, the Temptation musical. He felt it was the laziest piece of book writing this critic has ever seen. A virtual Wikipedia article, this tedious paint-by-number survey through the Temptation songbook feels endless at 2.5 hours long. A deluge of classic songs are thrown at you and are often left unfinished or interrupted by more facts the creatives discovered on Google. The dull and repetitious musical is only comes to life when images are projected against it because you're bogged down by the bleak and gray scenic design. As usual, Morisot has managed to slide her signature rage into the show, casting a light on the timelessness of the Temptation struggles on a tour through the South and reflecting it against today's conflict. Sure, it packs a punch, but the moment is lost quickly in a sea of endless hit songs. As good as the tunes are, they all begin to sound the same. And so the cast is the show's saving grace. Led by Derek Baskin, these Temptations sing and dance through the decades. One can't help but feel exhausted just watching their dizzying dancing skills and hearing their electric vocals, each more impressive than the last. But even an astonishingly gifted cast can't rescue an Ain't Too Proud for the annals of Broadway boredom. He gives this a sad face. We should say that the rest of the cast is James Harkness as Paul Williams, Jawan Jackson as Melvin Franklin, Jeremy Pope as Andy Kendricks, Ephraim Sykes as David Ruffin, when we saw it back in March. And the choreography, Sergio Trujillo got a Tony Award, and it was directed by Des McAnuff, and the costume was Paul Tazewell. Now, I didn't dislike it as much as he did. You'll get more of what I have to say on the Facebook page. But I guess the problem is we just have seen too many jukebox musicals. At this point, I was kind of jukeboxed out too. I did like the Cher show, which closed, and this one is very popular and going well. And I love the Temptation songs, and the dancing and everything was great. But see, with me, there was lots of lights, and projections was bad for my vertigo. So I'm just going to give it, he may have given a sad face, but I'll give it a mixed face.
Currently at Irish Rep is Little Gem, written by Elaine Murphy and directed by Mark Atkinson Burrell. In the play, 3 generations of women deal with the declining health and impending death of the family patriarch, James, also known as Gem. Kay, the matriarch, is played by Marsha Mason. She has seen herself for more than 40 years as just her wife. Now she has an odd itch in her genital area, and a vibrator may not help. The daughter, Lorraine, has become erratic at work, but is willing to follow a therapist's advice to do something good for herself. Maybe her salsa partner will be that something good. The granddaughter, Amber, spends her time partying and hooking up with her boyfriend, Paul, who wants to escape to Australia. Only a major change in her situation can make her more mature and bring her closer to her family.
This was really well done. It was done in monologues, but there was a kick to it because even though the one person was talking, the other characters on stage were reacting to what was being said. So it was not your usual boring monologue type play.
And the material was so concrete that you really understood what was going on with the characters and what they were feeling.
You could
it
visualize.
It wasn't like abstract rumination.
No, you could visualize everything they were saying. It's almost like you sort of stopped being there and you were in their thoughts. And you were imagining her salsa dancing, and you were imagining her erratic at work. You were imagining the mom and trying to deal with the vibrator, and the daughter dealing with this, lousy boyfriend. You saw them all. They were just such good actresses.
Yes, I mean, and it really worked, and it really is a little gem, I guess, is the best way to talk about it.
Exactly. Our dear friend and co-host Irene Shea died of angiosarcoma cancer on April 24th. We're dedicating the show to her, and we want to talk about her a little bit since we actually have time to finally.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't know her as well as Eva or Bina, but she was like the sweetest person with the most beautiful voice. And, we all really miss her a lot.
She was like the best person, I have ever met in the United States. Okay, second best is Eva and Mark, equally as good as that. But this person, Irene did not have a malicious fiber in her body. She has never shouted at me. She has never raised her voice. She loved me, and I loved her. I miss her so much.
Yeah, she was always very calming energy, because the rest of us are not calm
We are
people.
hysterical because we are so fucked up. Sorry. And she was a wonderful actress. She did lots of shows with Beno.
I never saw her.
Oh, she was, you had to see her. Very classical actress, actually. You could see, that she can be in Shakespeare plays and Chekhov plays. She was.
Her voice again was like the most beautiful, most melodious.
Well, before I became a theater critic, I was an actress with this playwright called Steve Lott. Steve Lott collected interesting characters to be in his play. He collected me. He found me at Theater for the New City, and he collected Irene. And
I was also in one of his plays, directed by Sebastian Stewart. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's like, so I still remember her and Augusto and Charlotte in Wonderland singing, soup, soup, beautiful soup. I mean, but
Yeah.
she apparently, because, you know, she was in summer stock with Miriam Hopkins.
Ooh.
I mean, she was no small slouch as an actress. And she had this wonderful Irish Catholic, you know, love of pageantry and everything. I mean, she was just this most wonderful, kindest, most delightful person. Except she had one thing that drove us all crazy. She was always late.
I don't
So I
know
would
that.
I
Yeah,
would
but-
always
but-
have to tell her something was 2 hours ahead of time. But when Steve Lott was sick and dying of AIDS, she showed up on time, and she was one of the people that we used to look after him. We would look after Stephen's shifts.
You know, this, when I went to see her the last time, I saw her in the hospital on First Avenue, and she said, hold my hand, hold my hand. I held her hand, and then she says to me that you're one of the greatest playwrights. You've written so many beautiful, fantastic plays, and I think that was my biggest winning review from anybody.
I just remember when in the hospital she was so cheerful. I mean, all the rest of us were kind of destroyed, but she was trying to make us feel better. So that was an amazing thing.
Yeah, and she said to me, Kevin, tell Kevin to say that, you know, the Catholic kind of thing. What is the
A
word?
mass?
You're asking a Jew?
Yeah. And then he called her, and she picked up. She didn't pick up, but the hospital picked up, and he said, I need to talk to Irene. So they gave the phone, and he did the prayer on the phone. He was very happy. She was very coherent, actually. She knew it was Kevin. It was, you know, she asked a lot of questions about Kevin, about his health, about wealth. She was, you know, the day I saw her, she was very alert.
Oh yeah, the doctors that treated her were devastated because we all thought she was going to make it, and she was doing so well. But the trouble is, they cleared up her face, but she got this tumor, and it broke free, and the cancer went into her bloodstream and her bones, and it just was shocking to all of us.
Yeah, really.
And she used to come here every Thanksgiving. She was one of our Thanksgiving people that came.
I went to see so many Bernard Shaw's readings at the Arts Club, you know, the Players Theatre.
That was a big thing
It
for
was
her.
wonderful. She
Yes.
just loved it.
Yeah, when the Shaw Festival first started, where they were doing every single Shaw play, Irene was there at every single one. She was like, that was her thing. That was her baby.
That was her thing. Eva also gave her all the control. You invite whoever you want to invite for this thing because she loved it so
She
much.
also liked Alan Ayckbourn. The last time I got her to go to the theater, you know, because she had a walker, was for Alan Ayckbourn, and she came to Elf. She always went to all of Alfie's occasions, his concerts, his graduations. I mean, she was always there for Alfie's things. Even when Alfie was in the hospital because he hurt himself, and she came to my rescue and looked after him so I could go to the drama desk nomination thingy.
And I remember your bar mitzvah, and she was there
She came to the bar mitzvah.
at the Danish, Swedish cafe.
Scandinavia House.
Oh,
yes.
fantastic. She was all dressed up. We were all dressed up. We had the best time. I remember I sitting next to her. We had the best of the best times. It was so wonderful, you know.
She really was part of the family.
Yes.
Not just a
Yeah.
high drama family, but individually, she was our family.
I also went to the church during the day for his bar mitzvah. Well, not the church. What do you call
Temple,
it?
synagogue.
Sorry.
Shul, yeah.
Temple.
Okay.
Yeah. No, we had a very good times, and I, you know, Theatre for the New City. She many times performed downstairs at the Elias Festival and all that stuff, and. Every time I rehearse, there's a rehearsal space there. I just like see Irene sitting there performing. You know, Benno directed lots of things.
Yes.
I really miss her so much. So
So,
much. Yeah.
so we give Irene a sad face because we're all very sad that she is no longer with us. But we're glad we got to know her.
Yes.
We're also, someone who's happy to know her is Bill Bradford, who was part of our Thanksgiving and part of High Drama. And now it's your turn to.
And remarkable actress that I first encountered her and this one, Eva, in Charlotte in Wonderland, and hysterical play, and she just had incredible stage presence. And I didn't get to see much of her work on stage, but I do remember she did the Lower East Side Festival one year outside on the street that they did an excerpt of a play she was in, and just had stage presence without any effort, and just remarkable. And as everyone said, very kind and understanding. I never saw her really lose any patience, although I know she could. And one thing that she started a tradition, which I think all of us will keep going.
For Thanksgiving.
For Thanksgiving, each year she brought the canned cranberry sauce, the jellied cranberry sauce, and brought a can for each of us in attendance, and that just became a tradition. And we're going to miss, we all miss her. Good energy and just a lovely, lovely person. And we are in the midst of the Dream Up Festival of Theater for the New City, and there are a number of shows. We are doing 25 plays in a period of 4 weeks. This is the first day, Sunday the 25th, and right now the seemingly hits have been in the Johnson with title I Want to See is Turkeys Go on Strike, then Sailor, and tonight at 8 is The Father. There are other performances during the run. Then there's a show about an ex-slave that is dealing with quilting the sun, that she did quilts and some of them are hanging in the Smithsonian. A title that intrigues me is Shirley Chisholm, Robert E. Lee, and Me. And then the last one that I'm going to plug is about Hedy Lamarr and Frequency. I forget the title. But she was this remarkable, phenomenal, attractive actress. Not a good actor, but little did we know that she was working on technological things against the Nazis at the time, in as much as she developed the theory and what is used in our cell phones today. So, and PBS did a documentary last year about her. And there are, I think, another 20 plays.
I'm looking at some, like the maternity monologues, and Octavius, Emperor Augustus in the Time of Road Warrior, and the assassination of J. Kaiser, the destruction of Marco T. and Cleopatra. That sounds interesting. There's 2 is a prime number, so there's something for everybody. So go to the Theater for the New City right now and check out Dream Up Festival. Go to the website. I'll have more at the end of the show, but check out Dream Up Festival.
And all the tickets are under $20.
Jan Ewing and I saw Jim Steinman's Bat Out of Hell the musical, which takes songs made famous by Meatloaf and turned it into a dystopian musical about love, greed, and young folk. Set in 2030, the sci-fi scenario assumes that something has happened that has caused kids to freeze forever at 18, except for Lost Boy Tink, who's frozen much younger, and then there's Raven, who hasn't been frozen at all, so her parents are very concerned and won't let her leave the house, but she still manages to fall in love with Strat, and Falco, her father, wants to take over the world and destroy Strat. And will he succeed in his vicious plans? Will Raven escape and find happiness with Strat, despite the fact that he'll be 18 forever as she ages? Will Sloane come to terms with her life and be able to help herself and her daughter? Despite the silly and confusing plot, this was a lot of fun. Zena Gusthart's choreography made me giggle, as it was so random and had no place in the plot. The actors were all charismatic, and they were powerhouse singers who really made those wonderful familiar songs soar. We even got treated with 2 previously unreleased songs. Who needs a fringe when you have the Peter Panish Bat Out of the Hell musical? It will make you go batshit, and both Jan and I gave it a happy face. More on Facebook and what Jan has to say too. Now to show you Irene talking about Project Shaw, so you can see what a wonderful person she was.
Project Shaw is presenting a reading of St. Joan at the Players Club on Gramercy Park on December 22nd, Monday. They always do a fabulous job, and I highly recommend it. And coming up, November 17th, Jeter's Atonement, starring Tyne Daly, well, I'll say starring, and another wonderful cast, and another wonderful staged reading. November 17th at the Players Club on Gramercy Park. New Georges is presenting Hillary, a modern Greek tragedy with a somewhat happy ending at the Living Theatre space on Clinton Street, of all places. This was written by Wendy Weiner and directed by Julie Kramer, starring Mia Baron as Hillary, and I especially liked Heidi Ambrose also as the goddess Athena, the goddess of wisdom. You don't have to know a thing about Greek mythology or a thing about politics or like or dislike Hillary to enjoy this play. I thoroughly loved it. It's just hilarious and touching, and I actually ended up liking Hillary more than I had before. Not that I disliked her or anything. I just really, really enjoyed it, and I thoroughly recommend it. And if you go on Mondays, it's free offering. That is pay as you wish.
Don't forget to find our reviews on the Facebook page, Twitter, and you can always see the entire show on YouTube. Lots going on at 54 Below. You've got John Cullum, Scott Siegel events, Fred Barton's Broadway, Christopher Rodriguez. I'm excited about everything going on at 59E59 right now. Tech support only yesterday in Fern Hill. 92nd Street West got Sona Santamaya, Sean Penn, Iggy Pop. And of course, don't forget the Dream Up Festival Theater for the New City. Madonna is going to be at BAM's Opera House. How cool is that? The Brick has their Brooklyn Comedy Collective. The Flea has Mac Wellman's doing Bad Pennies, Sincerity Forever, Invention of Tragedy. Playwrights Horizon is back with Wives. New York Theater Workshop next door has Dust. Cult Cur is doing Eureka Day. Things we're going to talk about in the next show. Don't forget, these shows have closed that we talked about. There'll be more that we'll be putting in. And I forgot to mention these. The Ring Dove, Ralph Lee's back with the Meadowee River Theater Company at St. John. Necromancers, the Public Domain is back at the Tank. And Performance for One at Chishama. Dream Up Festival, I forgot to mention Maker of the World, September 2nd through the 7th. And there's the Immersive Theater Galleria Esperanza. Don't forget to pick up your Performing Arts Insider. We're just dedicating the whole season to Irene Shay. Next show is September 14th. And don't forget to like us on Facebook, Twitter, and YouTube.